Hey YouTube, let's talk about Transformers. It is October the 11th, 2021, and this is actually the 35th anniversary. Well, this is the month of the 35th anniversary of the original Transformers movie. I'm talking like 1980s, like Optimus Prime, Ultra Magnus, Peter Cullen, Frank Welker, all of them, you know, and it kind of got me in the mood to go back and revisit what is the genesis of my favorite franchise of all time. There's so much that came from that movie that has been carried over into how the franchise is carried today and all of the various iterations, and I'll get into that in a second. This is going to be a spoiler discussion because if you've not seen the Transformers movie by now, after 35 years of it being out, that is your own fault. If you did not like the Michael Bay versions of these movies, I by no means am suggesting that the original movie is going to sell you on it, because the original movie is cheesy. It is 80s animation. There are like a whole bunch of errors, and it's just all around a really corny time. If you are attached to this franchise and you've just like really never considered going back to watch it because maybe you're like me and you don't really like watching super old stuff, I beg you to reconsider. Everything that modern day Transformers is owes itself to that movie, if you ask me. Um, Megatron becoming Galvatron happened in that movie. That happens in almost every iteration of this series at some point. Even the movies finally brought Galvatron in, and like the fourth one. Terribly, by the way, but that's not the point. Unicron. Unicron was introduced in that movie, as far as I know. As far as I know. And almost every iteration of Transformers either alludes to or directly brings Unicron into it at some point. Optimus dying is a precedent that movie set. Spoilers: Optimus dies and does not come back. They actually elect a new Prime. You don't really see that kind of thing happen anymore. The series don't do that because it wasn't received very well when they did it. So fair. Here's the bare bones plot: Optimus and Megatron get into a final battle. Both of them are immensely damaged. Optimus actually ends up dying. Megatron is found by Unicron, who turns him into Galvatron and tasks him with finding the Matrix of Leadership, which is the Autobots' like safe haven. He wants to destroy it. He wants Ultra Magnus destroyed because he says that's the only thing that's going to destroy him. Him being Unicron. They execute it, I think, in all of its 80s grandeur, complete with the sound effects like the lightsaber joint, the cartoon munching sound when Unicron destroys planets. And when Unicron destroys a planet, like when what he Unicron is a giant planet-sized transformer. When he destroys a planet, you feel it. Unicron will grab a planet full of life. You'll see people panicking. You'll see everything getting sucked in. It's like this apocalyptic, just huge, like fanfare, and it's great. It establishes Unicron as this fantastic threat. The music, they've got songs like Dare and You've Got the Touch. We all know You Got the Touch. You If you have not heard You've Got the Touch in the context of the Transformers movie, you have seen that scene memed. You have heard that song somewhere. I promise you, if you don't recognize the name of the song, You've Got the Touch, You've Got the Power. You trust me. Think about it a little bit. You have seen it somewhere. Saints Row used it. They even used the dialogue of the Optimus Prime versus Megatron fight almost verbatim. So even outside of the Transformers movie itself, and the Transformers franchise that followed it, this movie has been very influential. I absolutely love the cast. The guy that plays Blur, I can't think of his name, but Blur talks really fast. He's very energetic. He repeats his words a lot. Leonard Nimoy voices Galvatron. Leonard Nimoy has been famous in Star Trek. He came back to voice Sentinel Prime in the Transformers movie Dark of the Moon. Peter Cullen voices Optimus Prime, who is one of the most famous voices of Optimus Prime. He's the original, and he's carried over into a lot of the franchise in the future. Frank Welker voices Megatron, who again, original voice actor for the character, and he's popped up in other iterations of the character. All of them do spectacular jobs. Is the dialogue cheesy? Absolutely. Does it make you cringe at times? Absolutely. Is it still fun to watch? Absolutely. Also, people die like it's George R. R. Martin, like it's Robert Kirkman. Red Wedding, Siege of Alexandria, out the butt. A lot of people die. I already told you Optimus Prime dies. A lot of Autobots die. A lot of Decepticons die. They pretty much cleaned house. What I appreciate about the fact that so many people get murked is that the Transformers talk about how there has been this war for thousands of years. Autobots and Decepticons are in this vicious war. But you watch the series, the cartoons, and I get that they're cartoons, so there's only but so dark and gritty you want to get. But people don't really die. Like, main characters don't get killed, so it doesn't really feel like a war. This movie made it feel like a war, the way Clone Wars made Star Wars feel like a war. But I don't want to take up too much time. Like I said, this is a 35-year-old movie. I would have seen it in theaters it was showing a limited showing, like I think one showing at noon on a Sunday. But I got sick that weekend, so I wasn't able to see it. And I still like it. And I do recommend it as fans of Transformers, or if you're not a fan of Transformers, but you find Transformers interesting, you kind of want to start down that rabbit hole, I'd watch that movie. If you don't care about Transformers at all, you don't got to waste 90 minutes of your life. It is a movie that made an impact then. It continues to make an impact now. And I think that for what they did with it, it is a job well done. So, if you liked listening to me prattle on about nonsense for the last however long this video is, consider liking, leaving a comment, subscribing, sharing the video. I'd really appreciate it. I'm just a dude in a hoodie trying to make his way in this world, trying to do it by talking about a bunch of stuff that I like to talk about. So, stick around with me. Let's have some conversation. All right, guys. I'll see y'all later.